Funny thing is, most folks think the sweetest part of breakfast is what keeps them going, like pancakes drowning in syrup or a big glass of orange juice. But the truth is, those very foods are often the reason so many of us end up with tired eyes, shaky hands, and blood sugar that jumps up and down like a wild horse. At 68, I've learned that breakfast isn't just about filling the belly. It's about setting the tone for the whole day. I remember the mornings when I used to grab a couple of donuts and black coffee on my way to work. By mid-morning, I was so sluggish I could barely think straight, and I'd be reaching for more sugar to stay awake. These ups and downs take a toll, especially as we get older. It's almost like riding a roller coaster. Fun at first, but exhausting in the long run. I had to learn the hard way that the quiet damage wasn't showing up in pain or headaches right away. It was happening silently, creeping along in my body, without me noticing until the doctor gave me a warning. That day, I promised myself I'd find a way to enjoy breakfast without sacrificing my health. Now, let me tell you, I didn't get here by following some fancy Hollywood diet or expensive plan you see on TV. No, sir. I just went back to simple foods that God gave us, the kind our grandparents ate before everything was processed and pumped with sugar. These are meals you can make in any small kitchen without spending a fortune or needing to be a chef. I started to notice that when my mornings began steady, my afternoons felt lighter, my mind sharper, and even my sleep at night came easier. Have you ever felt like one good choice in the morning sets the stage for the whole day? That's exactly what breakfast does for me now. And the best part? These foods taste good, they're comforting, and they don't make me feel like I'm on some punishment diet. Thank the Lord. I discovered a handful of breakfast staples that have kept my blood sugar calm and my energy steady well into my late 60s. If you enjoy these kinds of tips, go ahead and share this video with a friend, and don't forget to give it a little like. It helps more than you think. Number 7. Steel-cut oats. The smell of oats cooking on the stove always takes me back to my grandma's kitchen. She didn't have fancy cereals in boxes, just a pot of oats simmering low and slow while she hummed old hymns. Steel-cut oats aren't like the instant packets most folks eat today. They take a little longer to soften, but that's part of the charm. That slow cooking is the same thing they do inside your body. They release energy gently, not in one big spike. I used to eat toast with jam every morning, and within an hour I'd be hungry again. But when I started switching to a warm bowl of oats, I noticed my stomach stayed satisfied, and I didn't feel that mid-morning crash that made me cranky. Funny how something so humble can make such a difference in the way your whole day flows. These days, I like to stir my oats with a wooden spoon, just the way my mom did. I'll toss in a sprinkle of cinnamon or a few berries on top, and it feels like I'm treating myself to something special. The texture is hearty, chewy, almost nutty, and it feels like real food, not something out of a package. Have you ever noticed how your body thanks you quietly when you get something wholesome? With oats, I feel lighter, my sugar feels steady, and even my energy for walking around the block lasts longer. I remember one morning after having oats, I was out mowing the lawn and I thought, well, look at me, still going strong without needing a snack. That was my proof that these little grains do their job without making a fuss. There's a bit of history tied to oats too. In Scotland, farmers have been eating oats for centuries before heading out into the fields. They relied on it because it kept them strong through cold mornings and long work days. It wasn't considered fancy food, but food that carried you through. That's exactly how I see it now. Simple, hearty, and dependable. Back in the day, a farmer didn't have the luxury of sugar-filled breakfasts. He needed something real that lasted. And I think that's why oats feel so fitting for us seniors. We may not be plowing fields, but we still need steady fuel for gardening, grocery shopping, or even just keeping up with the grandkids. Practical tip? I cook a small pot of steel-cut oats on Sunday and keep it in the fridge. Every morning, I just scoop a bit out, warm it with a splash of milk or water, and add my toppings. It saves time, and it keeps me from reaching for quick, sugary fixes. Sometimes I'll add a spoonful of Greek yogurt on top. Sometimes just a drizzle of honey if I'm craving sweetness, but not too much. This little routine has become almost like a quiet ritual in the morning, gentle, steady, and grounding. I actually look forward to it, which I never thought I'd say about oats. And you know what? I thank God every morning for that warm bowl, because it reminds me that health doesn't have to be complicated. I could have easily ignored the doctor's advice and kept on with the sugary cereals, but I would have paid the price. Now, every time I take a bite, I feel like I'm choosing life, choosing energy, and choosing a calmer day ahead. Funny how oats, something I once thought was boring, ended up becoming my little secret weapon for feeling steady at 68. Number 6, eggs. If the kitchen had a sheriff, it'd be the egg. Strong, dependable, and always there to keep things in order. I remember back in the 70s when everyone said eggs were bad for your heart. Folks tossed out the yolks and kept only the whites. But you know what? I kept eating them the way my mama made, fried in a little butter on cast iron, with the yolk running golden over toast. Turns out, eggs aren't the villain they were made out to be. They're packed with protein, the kind that fills you up and doesn't let your blood sugar jump around like a jackrabbit. These days, when I sit down to a couple of eggs in the morning, I feel grounded, like my body knows it's got something solid to run on. One of my favorite parts of eggs is how versatile they are. Scrambled with a bit of cheese, boiled for an easy snack, or even baked into a little frittata with leftover veggies. My wife likes hers sunny side up, while I prefer mine scrambled soft with a pinch of black pepper. Have you ever noticed how a simple egg can feel like a whole meal by itself? It's not flashy, but it's reliable, and at our age, reliable as gold. I can eat 2 eggs at 7 a.m. and make it to lunchtime without my stomach begging for something sweet. That's a small victory, but it adds up. There's also something nostalgic about cracking an egg. It reminds me of early mornings on the farm, when we'd collect fresh eggs from a hen house. My hands would be cold from the dew, but those eggs were warm, fresh, and full of life. People paid good money today for what we had every morning for free. I think back and smile, realizing God gave us these perfect little packages of nutrition long before science tried to explain why they're so good for us. Sometimes I feel like the closer we stay to the foods from creation, the better off we are. Eggs are just one of those reminders. Here's a practical tip I've leaned on. Boil half a dozen eggs on Sunday night. Keep them in the fridge. That way, when the morning rush tempts you to grab toast and jelly, you've got a healthy choice ready to go. Slice one over your oats, mash one into avocado on whole grain bread, or just peel and eat with a dash of salt. Small steps like that save me from reaching for pastries when I'm too tired to cook. My daughter even laughs at me because I carry a boiled egg in my pocket sometimes when I'm out fishing. It may not look fancy, but it gets the job done. What I love most is the sense of gratitude that comes with a plate of eggs. They're simple, affordable, and packed with what I need. I used to complicate breakfast with boxes, labels, and promises on packages. Now, I just thank the Lord for something so humble that does its work quietly. I never thought I'd reach a point where I'd see eggs as more than just breakfast. But at 68, they're part of my steady rhythm, keeping my blood sugar calm and my morning strong. And to think I almost believe those old headlines that told me to stay away. Number 5, Greek yogurt unsweetened. The first time I tried Greek yogurt, I almost spit it out. It was so tangy compared to the sugary cups of regular yogurt I grew up with. But funny thing is, once I got used to it, I realized that tanginess is what makes it special. It's thick, creamy, and it doesn't send my blood sugar soaring like those fruit-flavored ones in the store. I remember thinking, this feels more like food than dessert. Over time, that tartness grew on me, and now I look forward to it in the mornings. It sticks with me much longer than cereal ever did, and I don't get that hollow hunger that used to creep in before lunch. When my granddaughter saw me eating plain Greek yogurt, she wrinkled her nose and said, "Grandpa, that looks boring." I laughed and told her it's like a blank canvas. You can make it whatever you want. Some mornings I add blueberries. Other days a few chopped walnuts and a drizzle of honey. It becomes this little bowl of balance. Sweetness from fruit, crunch from nuts, and creaminess from the yogurt itself. Have you ever noticed how food tastes better when you build it yourself? That small effort makes me feel connected to what I'm eating, instead of just tearing open a wrapper. There's something ancient about yogurt, too. Cultures around the world have been making it for thousands of years. Shepherds in Greece, farmers in the Middle East, Even folks in Eastern Europe all relied on yogurt as a way to preserve milk and nourish themselves. It wasn't about diets or trends. It was about survival and health. I like to think I'm carrying on a tradition every time I scoop it into a bowl. There's comfort in knowing I'm not chasing some modern fad, but leaning into wisdom that stood the test of time. A little trick I've learned is using Greek yogurt in place of other ingredients. Instead of sour cream on baked potatoes, I'll use a dollop of yogurt. Instead of mayo in chicken salad, I mix yogurt with herbs. These swaps make meals lighter, and I don't feel weighed down afterward. It's also easy on the wallet, since one big tub can stretch across the whole week. Practical changes like that keep me steady without making me feel deprived. And I like that my grandkids can eat the same food I do. It's one of those rare healthy things that everyone in the house actually enjoys. The best part, though, is the gratitude I feel afterward. I sit at my little breakfast table, spoon in hand, sunlight coming to the curtains, and I thank God for this small blessing. It may sound simple, but that creamy bowl reminds me that taking care of myself doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as easy as choosing a food that loves me back instead of hurting me. Funny how something I once thought was too sour has now become a sweet part of my mornings. Number 4, berries. The first time I picked blueberries was on a hot summer day in North Carolina. The sun was beating down, my shirt stuck to my back, but those little berries were cool and sweet right off the bush. I remember the stain on my fingers, deep purple, almost like ink that wouldn't wash out. Back then, I didn't know a thing about blood sugar or antioxidants. All I knew was they tasted like God's candy. Today, when I eat a handful of berries with my breakfast, I feel like I'm giving myself a little gift that's both sweet and safe for my body. They satisfy the craving for sugar without sending my numbers climbing. Sometimes I'll sprinkle a few raspberries over my oats or stir blueberries into my Greek yogurt. The burst of flavor feels like fireworks in the mouth, bright, tart, and refreshing. Compared to the heavy sweetness of syrup or jam, berries feel light, almost playful. Have you ever noticed how just a small handful makes the whole plate look prettier? I find that when food looks inviting, I slow down, enjoy it more, and actually eat less. It's a small trick, but at my age, little habits like that go a long way toward feeling steady. Berries also carry a bit of history with them. Native Americans used to dry them and mix them with meat to make pemmican, a food that could last through the winter. It was survival food, strong enough to keep warriors and travelers going. That makes me think about resilience, how something so small can pack so much strength. When I read about how berries help fight what scientists call oxidative stress, I just smile and think, well, no wonder they've been around this long. Sometimes the wisdom of nature is more trustworthy than any advertisement on TV. In practice, I keep a bag of frozen berries in my freezer year-round. That way, even when they're not in season, I've got them ready for smoothies or thaw overnight and put on my breakfast. It saves money too, since frozen ones often taste just as good as fresh. My wife likes to mash a few and spread them on whole grain toast instead of jelly, and I admit it's delicious. Simple swaps like that make me feel like we're still enjoying treats, just without the sugar crash later. And it's nice to share something with her that feels indulgent and healthy at the same time. The joy for me is in gratitude. Every time I see that deep red or purple in my bowl, I think about how amazing it is that the earth gives us food like this. Beautiful to look at, tasty to eat, and gentle on the body. It's almost like a reminder from God that He provides not just what we need, but what we can delight in. I never thought I'd say this, but I'd take a bowl of berries over a jelly donut any morning. And the funny part? I don't even miss the donut anymore. Number 3, cinnamon. The smell of cinnamon in the morning makes me think of Christmas at my mother's house. She'd bake pies and rolls, and the whole place smelled warm and safe. Funny how just a little spice can stir up such strong memories. These days, I sprinkle cinnamon on my oats or coffee not just for the taste, but because it helps my sugar stay steady. I didn't believe at first. How could a spice do something so powerful? But after using it for a while, I noticed I didn't feel that same crash after meals. It's like cinnamon slows things down, giving the body time to handle the food without panic. One morning I added cinnamon to my Greek yogurt, just to see what would happen. It gave it this sweet warmth without needing sugar at all. My grandson asked why it smelled like cookies, and I laughed, telling him that was the magic of cinnamon. Have you ever noticed how cinnamon tricks your tongue into thinking something sweeter than it is? That little trick has saved me from craving syrup or brown sugar in the mornings. It feels like I've outsmarted my sweet tooth with nothing but a dash of spice. There's history in cinnamon, too. Back in ancient times, it was considered more valuable than gold. Merchants would travel across oceans to trade it, and it was used in medicines, perfumes, and even as offerings. Imagine that. A spice we can buy for a few dollars today was once worth a fortune. I like thinking about that when I twist the jar open, as if I'm connecting to centuries of people who knew its power long before I did. It makes breakfast feel richer somehow, like there's a story sitting in the bowl. Practically speaking, I keep a small jar right by the coffee pot. Every morning I shake just a little into my brew instead of sugar. Sometimes I mix it with chopped apples in the microwave for a quick side dish, or dust it over avocado toast for a surprising twist. It's cheap, easy, and gives food that warm, cozy feeling without adding extra calories. The best part? It doesn't take planning. Just a sprinkle here and there, and you've got flavor and health in one shot. I've even started carrying a little shaker in my fishing bag, just in case. But what I really feel when I use cinnamon is gratitude. Gratitude that God tucked medicine into something as simple as bark from a tree. Who would have thought that the same spice that made my childhood pies smell so good could also help me live a steadier, healthier life at 68? Every time I taste it, I smile, knowing I found a way to enjoy sweetness without the harm. And sometimes I wonder, maybe the Lord hides blessings in the smallest places, even in the spice rack. When I look back at how I used to eat breakfast, I almost laugh. Donuts, sweet cereals, orange juice in big glasses, it felt normal, but it was quietly working against me. Changing those habits wasn't easy, but at 68, I've seen the power of small, steady swaps. Oats instead of toast and jam. Eggs instead of pastries. Greek yogurt instead of sugar-loaded cups. These weren't punishments. They were blessings in disguise. The funny thing is, once my mornings became calmer, my whole life felt calmer. My afternoons had more energy, my evenings had more peace, and my doctor started smiling a little more at my checkups. There's a deeper lesson in all this. 2. We don't have to chase expensive supplements or magic powders to care for our health. Sometimes the answer is right in front of us, sitting in the kitchen we've had for decades. A few berries, a sprinkle of cinnamon, half an avocado. These simple foods have carried me further than anything that came in a shiny box. Have you ever noticed how the foods closest to nature often make you feel the best? It makes me believe God really did put the tools for health all around us. We just have to reach for them. Now, I'm no doctor, and I'd never tell anyone to make big changes without talking to theirs first. But I can share what's been true for me. Breakfast doesn't just start the day, it sets the course. Keeping sugar steady first thing in the morning helps me think clearer, move easier, and even rest better at night. It's almost like putting a strong foundation under the house before you build the rest of the day. Without it, the walls wobble. With it, everything stands a little straighter. One thing I've learned is that it's never too late. Whether you're 60, 70, or 80, your body still listens when you give it kindness. I used to think I was stuck with my bad habits forever. But the moment I swapped my breakfast, I realized change doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be as simple as choosing oats over sugar or coffee without sweetener. Each choice is like a seed, and over time, those seeds grow into steady energy, clearer mornings, and stronger days. That's a gift worth pursuing at any age. So as I sit here with my cup of coffee and bowl of oats, I can honestly say I'm grateful. Grateful for the foods that keep me steady. Grateful for another day to share them. And grateful to God for giving me the wisdom to change before it was too late. If this message finds you wondering whether it's worth the effort, I promise. It is. Take it one step at a time, and let breakfast be the first blessing of your day. Take care of yourselves, and God bless y'all.